Most people spend their entire lives working for money, without ever actually being taught how the financial system operates. I mean, think about it. School teaches us math, history, and science, but almost nobody sits us down and teaches us basic financial literacy. And that's exactly why millions of people stay trapped in stress, debt, and this endless paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. So welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible forces that are quietly controlling your finances.
It's a serious question. What if the very foundation of how you view your bank account, your debt, and your paycheck is based on a total illusion? Well, we are going to break down the absolute basics of finance that can completely change the way you think about wealth. All right, let's dive right into this.
Section 1. What is money really? The social construct. To truly understand wealth, we first have to totally dismantle the idea that currency has any intrinsic value of its own. Notice the phrase social construct here, because the weird part about currency is that it's actually not real. Humans developed money simply as a tool. We just needed a way to make trading easier and to organize society. Sure, the government prints it and central banks regulate it to try and prevent extreme inflation or deflation, but at its very core, it is entirely built on a shared belief.
Think about it like this. There is literally no more physical legitimacy to a dollar bill than there is to a random stick you find out in the woods. The only reason a piece of paper can buy you groceries and a stick cannot is simply because we as a society have collectively agreed that the paper is worth something. It operates purely on trust.
Section 2. The invisible wealth drainers: taxes, inflation, and recessions.
Now that we know what money actually is, we have to look at the invisible forces that silently erode your wealth while you sleep. Picture this. You just had a brutal month slaving away at work. You get an email saying you've been paid $2,000, but you check your bank account and it only shows $1,456. Well, taxes are the cost of a civilization, right? They fund our roads, our schools, our infrastructure, but they hit literally every angle of your life. Income tax hits the money you make. Sales tax hits the money you spend. Capital gains hits the money your investments make. Then you've got Social Security, which is essentially forced savings for retirement, and Medicare to support health initiatives. The government takes a piece of every single dollar before you even have a chance to spend it.
And then there's inflation. You know the feeling? You open a bag of chips, it's half empty, and somehow costs 30% more than it did last year. Inflation is just the slow erosion of value. Your $5 bill still technically says $5, but it buys way less than it used to. So what actually causes this? Well, sometimes it's just too much money chasing too few goods. Imagine 2,000 people all wanting to buy a TV, but there are only 1,000 TVs available. Other times, supply chain hiccups make actually producing those goods more expensive. Or it's honestly just consumer panic becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy, driving prices up faster because people rush to spend now before things get even more expensive.
And that brings us to the economic cycle. Think of the economy like a massive, raging party. In the boom phase, everyone is dancing, everyone is spending. But eventually, reality hits. Someone checks their bank account, the music stops, and the bust happens. A recession just means the economy shrinks for at least 6 months. Jobs vanish, companies aggressively cut costs, and people panic. But remember, recessions aren't forever. They are painful for sure, but they're natural economic resets that eventually pave the way for new growth to start all over again.
Section 3. How banks actually work. The middlemen.
Okay, it's time to shatter a really common illusion about where we store our cash. When you hand a bank teller your money, you probably picture it sitting in some giant steel vault guarded by a dragon, right? In reality, that money is already gone. Banks are essentially just middlemen. When you deposit $1,000, the bank immediately turns around and takes 900 of it to lend to someone else who wants to buy a house, or a car, or a jet ski. This is called fractional reserve banking. They only keep a tiny fraction of the cash on hand, operating on the assumption that not everyone is going to show up on the exact same day to withdraw their funds. That is, unless a massive financial crisis hits and everyone lines up at once.
Now, if that sounds incredibly risky to you, don't panic. The whole system entices you to keep your money with them because it's convenient, they pay you a tiny bit of interest, and crucially, it is insured. In the US, the government assures you that your money is totally safe up to this massive amount. $250,000 per person. So despite your money being lent out the back door, your deposits are deeply protected from those catastrophic panics.
Section 4. Rigging the credit game. The shadowy algorithm. So while your deposits might be insured, getting access to actually borrow money requires navigating a completely different system. A credit score is basically a shadowy algorithm that knows your name, your past, and exactly how many times you paid a bill late. This 3-digit number, ranging from 300 to 850, literally decides your financial future. It determines whether you get the keys to a new house, a decent car, or if you get saddled with a soul-crushing 27% interest rate. Fall below 580, and lenders view you as a walking red flag. Get over 750, and you are sparkling with adult credibility.
But here is the most important thing you need to understand about this algorithm. It does not measure your wealth. It measures trust. Lenders just want to know one thing. If they give you money, will you actually pay them back? Your payment history is the biggest piece of that puzzle. But here is the ultimate catch. It's not about being good with money. It's about looking good to lenders. You could have zero debt and still have a total trash score if you lack a credit history. Your credit score is kind of like a pet dog. Ignore it, and it makes a huge mess of your life. Take care of it, and it helps you buy a house. The game is rigged, yeah, but by learning these components, you can absolutely rig it right back in your favor.
Section 5. The magic of interest. Rent for money.
Now we're getting into the silent engine operating behind the scenes of both massive wealth and crippling debt. Interest is simply money's way of charging rent to exist in someone else's hands. Simple interest is just a flat fee, like, hey, thanks for borrowing, here is the cost. Compound interest, however, is a whole different beast. It means every dollar you have now creates clones, and then those clones also want rent. If you owe 20% on a credit card and miss a payment, your interest actually earns interest, turning a $12 burrito into a $50 regret. But when you invest at a 7% annual compound interest, it acts like a cheat code. Your money duplicates itself, 100 becomes 200, then 400, until one day you wake up and you're rich.
Ultimately, you have to make a choice. With loans, compound interest is a slow burn that turns small mistakes into raging financial fires. But in investments, it's a ticking time bomb turning small gains into massive wins. The ultimate hack here is incredibly simple. If you are paying interest, kill it as fast as humanly possible. But if you are earning interest, let it sit, feed it, and give it time to work its magic.
Section 6. The ultimate wealth engine. Value, investing, and time.
All right, let's open up the cheat codes to actually building wealth and escaping that matrix of paycheck to paycheck living. Most people work jobs where their time is traded directly for money. 1 hour equals 1 paycheck. It's simple math, but the wealthy realize a hard truth. No one gets an unlimited supply of time. So they stop trading their limited time directly for paychecks. Instead, they trade money for more money. They put their cash to work to outpace inflation, ensuring their wealth doesn't just sit around quietly losing value.
So how exactly do they do it? Through these core vehicles of investing. Stocks are just tiny ownership slices of actual companies. Bonds are basically you loaning your money out to the government or a corporation and getting paid back with interest. Funds collect a whole bunch of stocks and bonds together into one package, so you don't have to play financial games picking them one by one. And real estate is property you buy hoping someone else pays to live in it forever. Yes, investing comes with risk, and yes, markets will go up and down, but the real danger isn't market fluctuations. The real danger is never investing at all and just watching inflation quietly steal your future.
To truly succeed, though, you also have to understand value. Imagine you pick up a rock off the ground. It's just a rock, right? Now imagine that rock is shiny and yellow. Bam, that's gold. It's not actually fundamentally worth more than an average rock. It's just worth more to humans because we collectively place a higher value on it. Money will always flow where humans perceive value. Millions of people gave Steve Jobs thousands of dollars because the iPhone provided immense value to their daily lives. It's the exact same reason a Gucci handbag can sell for 100 times the price of a Target bag. If you can figure out how to provide a massive service or create perceived value in the world, you are going to earn.
But of all these assets, there is one that matters more than anything else: time. You probably have a lot of it left, but it is strictly finite. The top earners have figured out how to use their skills and leverage to make their time worth millions. There's literally no greater force in wealth building. It's not about getting lucky overnight on some random bet. True wealth is built over decades.
And that brings us to this crucial takeaway. You do not need a massive salary to win this game. Money that sits quietly in a smart investment doesn't just grow, it multiplies. Slowly at first, and then faster and faster. The highest earners just use the system, letting compound growth do its thing over 20 or 30 years. They are early, they are diversified, and they are incredibly patient.
I want to leave you with this final thought. You now know how the invisible forces of taxes, inflation, and fractional reserve banking actually work. You know the shadowy algorithm of credit scores and the dual nature of compound interest. The financial matrix has officially been decoded. A little money invested consistently, given enough time, becomes a lot. The entire system is laid bare in front of you. So the only question left is, what are you going to do with your time and your money starting today?